Hey there, my name is Witty, and I've decided to start an Advanced West by Web themed YouTube channel, at least for now, because this game has brought me a lot of entertainment over the past months, and all the big YouTubers that I was watching kind of stopped uploading. Deegis is taking a break, so is Mangs, and the guy who got me into it, CO Select, aka I Am Snitch, he hasn't uploaded for months, and I really liked his style of videos, so I figured since they brought me so much entertainment, why don't I do something kind of like that? So, I guess sorry for the plagiarism, Snitch, if you end up watching this, but whatever. Who cares? All right, so this map we're playing on is called Shadows Chase You Endlessly, and it's just a regular standard map. So each property gives you 100 funds, and yeah, it's tier one, and I'm playing Hawk, as you can see, and my opponent is Starflash, and he's playing Von Bolt. So I guess I'll talk about the CEOs first. So Hawk, his whole gimmick is he has extra attack, and he has a very strong superpower and less so CO power, but it's still usable. His superpower well, he has plus 10% attack, if I didn't say that already. But his superpower, it heals all his units 2 HP, and it deals 2 HP to every single enemy unit, which is it's a lot of it costs a lot, 8,100 just to get it, but once you do get it, it's incredible. It's probably one of the best super CO powers in the game, behind maybe Eagle and Hachi. Yeah, and my opponent's playing Von Bolt, and Von Bolt has a even better day to day than Hawk. He gets 10% attack and 10% defense, which doesn't seem like much, just 10% defense, but you'll see it can do quite a bit. And Hawk's only has a superpower. It's called Ex Machina. What it does is it shoots a giant missile that stuns all your units, or not all your units, but all the units hit by the missile rather. And yeah, so that's the CO matchup. Also, it's tier one, so these are some of the best COs you get the opportunity to play with. And I guess I'll talk about me and my opponent. So yeah, this is my opponent, Starflash 250. Just so you know, I'm uploading this in January. Today's the 2nd, but I'm not sure when I'll end up uploading this. So these ratings aren't exactly accurate to when this game was played, because I think it was played in October. So yeah, Starflash rated 1336. Although when we played this game, I think he's rated about a little bit lower, maybe 1300. But yeah, he's a very talented player, and I'm rated 1304. Although when I played this game, I was probably rated more like 1200, maybe 1150. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, so that's what you need to know. And like I said, this map's Shadows Chase You Endlessly. It's probably one of my favorite maps in the league, and that's only because there's so many properties you can get such high funding, which makes for an interesting surprise. Also, most maps in the regular standard pool have 3 bases, whereas this one only has 2, which I think makes it a little bit less wally than it otherwise would be. And by wally, I mean like you set up a line of troops and it's hard to break through. Whereas when you only give it 2 each turn, it takes longer for those to get set up. So this map, as you can see, there's one airport in each flank, and basically the way to win this map, for the most part, is to take one of these side islands. Usually this one is like mine. I'm the pink player, and this one's his. And then what you do is you can either do a converged push from like this army over here and this island and go for their HQ, or you can just set up defensively here and go up into their airport. So, and blocking their airport's a pretty big deal, because then you can start pumping out stealths with such an high income, and without a fighter of your own, stealths are impossible to deal with. But at the same time, if you do too much over here in these islands and they push through the middle, you can't really push out through here because that's right up in their base, and then they can get a lot of pressure on your HQ. So yeah, it's a very interesting map. You'll just have to see how it goes, and I think I covered everything I want. Oh yeah, actually there's these black boats too. So there's a little bit of opening theory on these black boats, but yeah, I'm not going to get too deep in any of that, because I think I didn't use it super optimally in this game. So, but yeah, let's just get into it. So I'm player one, and I start off with 2 infantry, pretty standard. And I move my black boat over here. And Starflash, he does the same, captures his nearest property, goes for this one first rather than this one. Alright, back to my turn. I capture this one, and build 2 infantry. And then I move my black boat here to block him from running up and going for the airport next turn. If he decides to forego this cap and run this way, I can move my black boat here, and that'll prevent him from getting the airport the next turn. Which I don't know how good of a play it really is, but it exists, and it's better going over here than it is to go just sit on this port doing nothing, at least for now. So, and there's some intricacies to the cap phase I could talk about, but I don't think it matters too much. And it's been months, or not months, but like a month and a half since I played this game at least. So I don't remember my thought process that well. So we're just gonna gloss over the cap phase for the most part. So yeah, as you can see, he does the same thing except he puts his one lower down. I don't know what exactly the difference is here, but I guess it means this infantry can't go to this square, because then it could. Yeah, I kind of get that. So, and then he just captures some random properties, builds more infantry. Yeah. So, like I start with the properties closest to me, and also you want to go for the ones that lead into chains. So like this one has another one you can walk into afterwards. This one you can walk into another one here. Whereas if you go for this one or this one first, there's no city you can capture immediately after that. So that's why I went for that city first at least. Alright, still everybody just spamming infantry, capping early bases. He actually decides to go back here to try and grab some of these cities. And one thing you gotta do when you see somebody go back here is you want to move your black boat over here, because if they decide to ignore this city, for example, and run up here, then and if your black boat's still sitting over here, it's 2 turns away, so you can't block them from capturing this port, which can be good. In my more recent games, I've actually decided it's better off putting it back over here to like block my troops and use it to heal, rather than keeping it here just denying 1k income, which when there's so much income on the map, 1k is like almost negligible. Maybe not negligible, but I don't know. The black boat can do a decent amount of work over here, I found, but in this match, I decided to move it back over here to, after capping out these random cities, decided to move it back. I should have moved it one less tile, because it could have still reached the port the next turn, and then I would have wasted 1 less fuel, but that's just nitpicking at that point. Yeah, see, he's smart. He does the right thing. And yeah, just more infantry spamming. I think this is the turn I go for a tank, because now I'm at 1,300, and I'm getting 700 income. After I cap, I'll get 1,000, or 10,000 income, excuse me. Yes, at 700, I'm at 7,000. Sorry. But yeah, I'm starting to get to the part where I can actually afford vehicles, so I figured might as well start building them now. So I think I do a tank on the bottom flank, remember correctly? So when thinking of where to do your first tank, usually I like to do it on a side where an infantry wouldn't like capture very much. So here I could feasibly send this infantry over to this island while this one's capping this city, because this one's going to cap these ones. This one's probably going to cap that one. I don't remember exactly what I did. So this infantry still has stuff to capture. Whereas if I built one here, I guess I could kind of run down south this way and capture a couple stuff. But I'm planning to send this one south too, so I already have 2 down there. So I didn't think it was that important to build another infantry there. So he responds with 2 tanks in kind. So now he has an answer to my tank on the bottom, and he can pressure the top. And like normally in standard, it's not common to be able to do 2 tanks this early on. It's what, just day 6? Yeah, I guess you can see the days. But yeah, like I said, we haven't even captured half the properties on this map, and already we're both able to afford 2 tanks. Like, I do the 2 tanks as well. No point in taking up this early, because it's too easy to dance around medium tanks this early, I feel. Alright, so just continuing with the cap phase, finally going for the airport up here. Surprisingly, I don't know why, but for some reason he decides to cap this first, rather than going for the airport. Wait, could he have gone for the airport? Yeah, he could have gone for the airport. Huh, that's weird. Alright, well. Oh wait, I went back a whole turn. Yeah, I guess it's because he can then chain into the comm tower, which he figures by the time this guy's done, we'll probably be fighting. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Oh yeah, and another thing I forgot to mention on my turn is these 2 infantry are in such a way that he couldn't bring his black boat back this way even if he wanted to, so he's kind of forced to send it back over here to try and block me from capturing the port. Alright, I go for the airport. Move this to block him from capturing that. And just continue with my captures. And I actually go for a prophylactic anti-air here. In my later games, I really don't think this is good, because even if they do capture the airport and just keep sending tanks this way, it's like, it's basically impossible to take this in a reasonable amount of time. But yeah, I don't necessarily agree with this play, but I guess it's because I couldn't do double tank, so I figured I might as well get an anti-air out early. I don't hate it. And it also protects this infantry to go up here, because if I have an anti-air all the way up here, you can't really send a battlecopter over here to harass this infantry capping these two cities. So I don't hate it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. Yes, well, he took so long to capture that city, man. I don't know what he was doing. Whatever. Alright, he blocks my port as well. And this is one thing I actually didn't see, and I was really annoyed that I didn't realize this could happen. Because he sets this tank on the city, and one thing you gotta know is Von Bolt tanks, even just regular tanks on cities, they get 30% extra defense. So normally it seems like it'd be a favorable engagement to get the first strike, right, in most circumstances, but if you actually let's do this fancy dancy damage calculator. I hope y'all can see that. Alright. Oh wait. I got these mixed up. So we'll be attacking from a forest tile, so let's update that. Yeah, look, it's not Von Bolt especially. He gets an extra 10% on top of that, 10% defense on top of the 30. So look, I deal 36 to 41. So I'll be lucky to bring him down to 6. Probably bring him down to 7, and then he'll bring me down to 7 in retaliation. So it's an equal trade, and he can just move in his other tank next turn to counterattack. So yeah, he's basically screwing me over from getting the city, which, yeah, I probably should have played around that a little better. But you know, I think my previous matches on this map, I went really heavy on the side, so I didn't figure he'd commit so hard to the middle. So I didn't even realize that would happen. So I just decided, all right, fine, you can sit on that city if you want. I'm just gonna ignore you and go on each flank. And I also built an artillery here with plans of bringing it over here to snipe this right here, and because if the artillery is the only real efficient way you can deal with that. You can also build a battlecopter and send it over, but the battlecopter takes like 4 shots, whereas I think the artillery is 2 or 3. I think Von Bolt specifically it's 3, but also since I haven't capped the comm tower, it's definitely 3. But yeah, it'll allow me to get the income back. There is one disadvantage to this, is it'll give him power charge, 750 to be exact, which against Von Bolt, that's not that big of a deal, because his super costs way too much. That 750 or 7,500, I guess, isn't that big of a deal. Whereas if you're playing against a CO if you're playing like an Eagle Mirror, I probably wouldn't snipe this because you don't want to give up the free charge. But yeah, so he caps the comm tower this turn, which is like the perfect timing. I was saying you captured this property too early, but basically, it means he's ready to engage in any attacks next turn, which, as you'll see, it's right when he does engage in attacks. So, oh yeah, and I did the same thing he did, where I blocked him with my tank on this city, which it's the safe way of denying caps without having to attack like the infantry on the city of his own. Like, let's go back to the previous turn, since now I was thinking about it. Yeah, see, like, I can't attack this, because then he'll counterattack with his tank. Like, even if I do get a double hit, a Von Bolt tank from a city, that's super rough. So that's why I decided just to block rather than going for 2 attacks. Alright, I think did we already look at this turn? No, we didn't. Yeah, see, I could comment on it every single move, but most of them it's just move infantry forward, move tank forward, max move. Once we get a little bit further in, when people start attacking each other, I'll comment a little more, but this is a pretty long game, as you'll see. I think it goes to turn 20-something. So if I spend time commenting on every single move, it'll take like 2.5 hours, I think. So for now, I'm just going with this. So yeah, he moves his tank onto the city here, and then he also moves a tank right here to support. And he built an anti-air as well. So he's gone for the same prophylactic anti-air that I did. Is that the definition of prophylactic? I'm not sure. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Alright, and I think he leaves this tank here since I have no tanks threatening this turn. Yeah, he does. So this tank's just a huge thorn in my side. Alright, just capping all these cities. I have to cap this one first, because then when I cap this one next, I'll be able to run towards the middle a bit quicker. And yeah, this is where the fighting finally begins after such a long time. So I see an opportunity. He hasn't built a tank to back this tank up. And on a shoal, especially with a Hawk tank, I guess I don't have the comm tower yet, but that's a pretty favorable engagement. And then, although I said attacking tanks on cities usually isn't a good idea, and I don't know if this was the greatest play, I decided to attack this anyways, because it brings it down to 6, only take 3 in retaliation. And, yeah, I mean, it's not the greatest, because I don't have backup next turn, as you'll see, but I guess I have this battlecopter, but yeah, it's because I want to. Basically, the reason I took this attack, which usually wouldn't be favorable, is I want to weaken his counterattack as much as possible. Since I already committed to the 8 versus 5, and I couldn't 2-hit KO that one there, so maybe there's an argument to be made for double hitting this tank instead, but I decided against it. See, I'm just spamming tanks still. I do a first battlecopter this turn, even though I see an anti-air. See, normally people might think, oh, he's already got an anti-air down, I might as well just keep spamming tanks, but battlecopters can be really good even if they have an anti-air, so you can just stay out of its range. And also another thing I can do is I can build 2 battlecopters and then overload this thing so it has 2 things to shoot at, so still building battlecopters can be very, very helpful. And here, I think this is a little suspect. I still went for the cap here. I probably should have just pulled this back, because he's going to attack this, I'm pretty sure. So he goes for his attack. Takes this one down to 3. Yeah, see, this is why I probably shouldn't have done this attack, because he's on a friendly city, so he gets healed all the way back up to 8, and then allows him to just decimate my tank. 8 versus 8, and 3 to 7. That Von Bolt is busted. And then he also doesn't even decide to attack with his tank, which surprised me. He decides to finish it off with his anti-air, because Von Bolt's stats are so insane that he still manages to kill it. And yeah, he does go for the stack, because he has a tank backing up, and I think he's going to build a battlecopter this turn. Yeah, he does. Yeah, and another reason this is especially good is I can't double hit it too, because this forest is preventing me from running around here. So maybe I should have left my tank like here or something. I'm not sure. So here I see I could go for battlecopter tank to kill his tank, but then he's got this tank to come follow up and attack my tank because it's going to get healed up, and then this will decimate my anti-air, or not my anti-air, my battlecopter. So I decide, okay, so maybe that wasn't the greatest engagement. Okay, and also I start shooting on this thing, and yeah, like I said, Von Bolt, it's going to take 3 shots, whereas any other CO, I think it would only take 2. So yeah, I shoot on this tank, it's a 7-5, look at that, Von Bolt busted. And I send this battlecopter up, and I'm like, oh, you already committed your anti-air to go down there, and now you're going to have to chase after my battlecopter, or it's going to get a free shot on this, so I can finally capture this city, maybe. And yeah, I see he's going in. I do the same thing he does. I put my tank on the city. Pretty hard to contest. And I also take the first shot there, although I think I already said that. Yeah, still new to this YouTube stuff, guys, so sorry if I repeat this stuff. And also, yeah, I bring my tank back to heal on the city, just like he did. And then I send my tank to reinforce. So now I have 2 tanks and a battlecopter versus just a tank. I guess this tank kind of counts, and an anti-air. So, and I can just build another battlecopter next turn if he does decide to push in here. So I've got pretty firm control of this island down here. And I decide I was at exactly, my funding was at exactly 2,300, which is enough for 2 tanks and a battlecopter. So I go for it. And this infantry, they kind of just coalesce in mid, not doing much. I wasn't super happy with this. I mean, I guess leaving it here prevents him from throwing a tank on my city, but it's really not accomplishing much. Alright, so he actually, this surprised me quite a bit. He goes for the battlecopter into tank shot. And one special interaction that you gotta know, Von Bolt with his plus 10% defense, whenever he's got a tank on a city, you can never 2-hit KO it unless you have like some insane firepower bonus from like a power. Maybe Grim can do it with the comm tower, I'm not really sure. But yeah, Hawk, I wouldn't be able to do this, for example. Battlecopter into tank, yeah, no way. But Von Bolt, he can do it to Hawk, because Hawk doesn't get the plus 10% defense. So, and then, so yeah, he kills my tank, and then he also weakens this one. See, look, he still takes, look, that's a 5 versus a 7. He shoots on me, takes 3 off, and I only deal 2 back. Von Bolt's stats, see, on paper they don't sound super good, but in practice, he is incredibly strong, incredibly strong. And he also decides to start shooting on this infantry, because now, as you can see, I've got no counterattack, because all my tanks are dead. And it moves this tank up too. Starts capping this city as well. So he's going really hard pushing right in here. Whereas I have a lot of troops over here not doing too much now, because he's just pulling back and he's going to go reinforce over here. He builds a anti-air battlecopter, and they must go infantry. Yeah, because he's got so many tanks already, he didn't feel the need to build more tanks. He's just going to get air support now too. Alright, I take another shot on this. Survives with 1 HP. Unfortunate. So I decide, alright, I'm just going to sack my anti-air to finish off that copter. Which I think was an okay play. I think that was an okay play. Then I pull back. Oh yeah, actually I decided to interrupt this cap because it's not the worst trade in the world. Plus, yeah, another thing about this cap right here is it prevents my battlecopter from flying up and attacking this tank from out of range of this anti-air. So this infantry positioning, very smart from Starflash. He definitely played better here in the early game because he's already killed one of my tanks, 2 of my tanks actually, and I've only killed 1 of his battlecopters. And this one, like, my tank's severely wounded. So, alright, let's keep going. Yeah, so my thought process here is I'm gonna put my battlecopter here and I'm gonna get a free shot here if he decides to move his anti-air this way. Which doesn't really accomplish much. With my knowledge I have now, I probably wouldn't have done that move, but... Yeah, so like I said, I pull everything back and then I just keep building tanks. I put them all on defensive tiles. The HQ gives plus 40% defense, so this is like a Von Bolt tank on a city right now. So he can't really contest this, even with his tanks of his own. Although, let's see what he ends up doing. So yeah, I lose this anti-air, as expected. First strikes me on the city, right within reinforcement range from 2 tanks. This surprised me quite a bit. But I guess he's got multiple tanks to support, so that's his thought process. He 2-hit KOs it. I guess that's what his thought process was. He also puts an anti here to stop me from counterattacking from my city, which was rather annoying, I must say. Takes an attack from the city, so my infantry is wiped out, whereas his gets to safely run away. And I can't really contest him because he's on a city, and Von Bolt on city is pretty strong, pretty strong. Alright, so right now it's looking pretty grim. He's got a whole 2k value lead ahead of me, which is not great. I guess I'll have some counterattacks this turn, but the big difference maker right now is going to be Black Storm. If I can survive till I get that, then I'll be able to actually effectively fight his troops. So I finally finished this off. I think, yeah, this artillery, although it's going to get me an extra city like 5 turns after I built it, another tank would have been really nice to help contest all this stuff, because he's gone ham wiping out all my stuff here in the middle, and like I'm just going to get 1k more income. So maybe if I was playing against a different CO, maybe I would do that again, but I don't know. This artillery hasn't been effective so far, in my opinion. I kind of regret going for that. Alright, so even though he's on a city here, I see he's only got 2 tanks over here, so he doesn't have a super strong counterattack. I guess he's got some over here, but whatever. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so I actually go for Battlecopter here, because I see it's in reinforcement range from my base, so my plan is, the only counter he has to my Battlecopter is a Battlecopter of his own, so if I just build an anti-air, I can threaten a 1-hit KO on his Battlecopter. So I actually opt not to go for the free hit on that infantry. See, this is where, like I was saying, I don't think I played this perfectly. Because I moved this here, like, specifically to threaten this infantry, and even though it's a completely free hit, it would get it stuck on that island, and it'd force him to repair it a little bit. I end up not even doing that. I feel like I'm getting pressured too much over here that I kind of have to move it offensively. Or I have to threaten vehicles, rather. Alright, so his counterattack's ready. So I decided to ignore this anti-air because it's on a city. It's not going to kill any of my air units. I've got no air units around here, so I have to kill the tank instead. So he gets the first strike from the city, and then he just starts going ham. He's like, "Oh, I don't care if you're on an HQ. I've got so many more tanks than you. It's time to go in." Boom, boom. Look at that. Even though I'm on an HQ, it just only takes what? I think these were both damaged a little at the beginning, anyways. Maybe this one wasn't, but yeah, it takes an effective trade, even though I'm on an HQ. And here, I thought this was interesting. He decides to join these two. I know why he joins these two. It's because I'm about to get my superpower, and once I use my superpower, these will both be 3 HP tanks, which is worthless. Whereas if he combines them now, it'll be an 8 HP tank next turn. So yeah, look at that. 9. He does 9 damage, and I deal nothing back. Wow, Von Bolt is strong. Yeah, he joins here too. Yeah, I guess this one was 3 and that was 7. 3 HP tank's not going to do much. Oh, I completely forgot he did this. And he even goes for anti-air and a tank. Like, what? See, this is a mistake. That has to be a mistake, because I'm just going to heal it up 2 HP anyways. And now his anti-air is worthless. Like 4 HP anti-air, I mean, you can go heal it up, but it's not going to one-shot copters anymore. So yeah, that's just a blunder on his end. Moves all his infantry up to support. So now he's just like, all right, you can have my island. I'm just going all in, trying to take out your base. And to finish me off, he's going to bring in this bomber. Because usually when you see a swarm of vehicles like this, you can just build a medium tank, and then boom, there's nothing they can do to kill it. I mean, battlecopters can kind of chip it down, but if it's on defensive terrain, there's no way. So he's basically like preemptively trying to kill my medium tank with a bomber. And if for some reason I saved 800 gold last turn, I guess it's because I needed an anti-air from this base, and then I only had 1500 left, so I couldn't really go battlecopter tank. Yeah, I guess that's what my thought process was. But it actually ends up working out very well for me here, because look, now I have 2800. I do a little bit of repairs, and now I can afford some pretty nice builds this turn. And also, yeah, Blackstorm. This is like what I was saying. Look, I'm behind by 30k value. If you guys didn't know, this number right here, it alludes to how much value your whole army is worth. So if somebody were to build your army, that's how much they have to pay. So he's got significantly more. And although it's the beginning of my turn, once I spend all my money, I'll have the same amount of value. Yeah, you know what? Whatever. I'm talking about too much. But yeah, just watch this superpower. Boom. We go from like a massive deficit to now having a huge lead in value. So that just shows the strength of a Hawk's superpower. Insanely good. And look, all these tanks that were like basically worthless, he was forced to join all his tanks that were super low, whereas I can keep them alive, pop my power, boom, suddenly they can contest because like all those higher HP tanks are lower, and mine get healed up. So like, yeah, it gets an incredible amount of value. So here I see he's got no anti-air. He decided to go all in up here. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go in. You've got your tank on your city, doesn't matter. I just pop my my power. Now you're only at 8 HP. Boom, look at that. 8-4. So one mechanic, you guys might not know this. Oh, you probably do. The lower HP units at is the less defense they get from cities. So that's why cities are anti-terrain for that fact. So that's why I took this engagement. Because it was at 8 HP, I can do a little bit more than I would otherwise. So I decide, all right, I've got no air really support, so I'm just going to focus all out on his tanks. That's what the plan is. Use this 3 HP battlecopter to chip his tank. Only takes 1 in retaliation, but only does 1 damage. Wow, that really sucks. Finish it off. Don't quite finish it off, actually. So there's my plan. Finish it off with the anti-air. But now he's got a bomber to counterattack. See, I couldn't see that one coming. So he can use all his tanks to wipe out all my tanks of my own. Then he can just use his bomber to blow this up. I actually do go for his anti-air here. Interesting. Wonder why. Was that in range of my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? It wasn't. I guess it's because it was the most efficient trade I could do. I could either kill a 6 HP tank or an 8 HP anti-air. That's worth significantly more, so I guess that's what my set process was. Another nice advantage to Hawk's Super CO power is it prevents any infantry that are capping from finishing their cap that turn. So I get an extra 1,000 income that he does not, all because I put my power. Don't even have to attack him there, which is quite nice. So I build another anti-air, so when he does attack with this bomber, I'll have the chance to counterattack this anti-air if he doesn't do anything about it. And I bring my tanks both over here. I basically figured out he's completely given up on this side, so I'm like, why am I even reinforcing over there? So I send my tanks this way. And I actually do something that I normally wouldn't recommend. Let me rewind a little bit. Where was it? You know what, whatever. I move all this garbage. Yeah, so I already spent 20k on a fighter, because the moment you see a bomber, you usually want to go fighter, because bombers can wreck anti-air, and whereas fighters, they have insane moves, so they can zone out the bomber. Unlike the anti-air, they have got more moves than bombers. They can also fly, so you can threaten the bomber without having to worry about it shooting back on you. So that's like the classic counter to that. And also, I decided to base skip. Don't even build an infantry down here, and I go for an anti-air up here. And why do I do this? It's because I want to threaten the counterattack, like I said earlier. And also, if I build an infantry down here, what's it going to do? It's going to like walk over to this island, maybe capture a city, maybe walk up here and slowly like shoot some of these guys. It's not going to do that much in this very moment. Like in the early game, especially in 2-base, you don't want to base skip. But right now, we're in like a high tempo situation where I got to deal with this bomber somehow. And that's how I choose to do it. Anti-air and fighter. So I kind of go really heavy on the air defense here, but it's because I know he can't really reinforce from the space really quickly, whereas a bomber, it's like within 2 movement spaces of the base, which is very threatening. And another benefit to building this fighter is, as you'll see, it how the AI of Von Bolt's Super CO power works, Ex Machina, is it targets an area that covers the most value worth of troops. So, like for example, over here, it's a weird. Actually, I'm just gonna pull up the move planner. All right, hopefully y'all can see that well. So what we do is we change it to blue because he's the one using his power, go down to Von Bolt superpower, and then we show the missile. So as we can see, it's going to land down here because this is 20k plus 1k plus 1k. So this is 22k, whereas like over here, it's another potential spot it could have landed. That's only 7 plus 7, 14 plus 6, 20k. So I think I deliberately put these infantry here to ensure that it didn't land here, because that would be really bad, because I need these guys to come help up here. Whereas the fighter, although it would be nice to help counter the bomber, it's not quite as urgent, I feel. So yeah, that actually worked out really well for me, because my units are all kind of spread out, so his superpower doesn't have the opportunity to get a huge amount of value, at least on this one. And I guess delaying the fighter return is pretty nice, but I've seen much better superpowers from Von Bolt. He decides to pop it anyways because he's like, I'm going for the base cap, but let's go all in right now. He even has the audacity to freaking send all his weakened tanks at my anti-air on my base, which I was a little bit surprised by, because I got these 2 tanks ready to counterattack, and he doesn't even quite kill the anti-air. Yeah, I don't know if I completely agree. But he does a good job of picking off a bunch of my weakened units. I've only got this 1 tank on the city here is still alive, but on its own, it's not that effective. And also, yeah, this is one thing I thought he did pretty smart. He, you'll see, he surrounds my copter. So even though he doesn't have an anti-air this turn, look, I can't escape. So I don't have vehicles to contest because all my vehicles are running up here to worry about the bomber and all his other tanks. So this was one of the more impressive plays. I was pretty surprised by this. Or not surprised, but So yeah, I use my infantry to clear a path so I get a first strike from a city on his tank. Very nice. Finish off his 2 tanks. Or actually, I don't even quite finish them off. You see, I'm so used to being able to finish stuff off there, but Von Bolt, he's just tanky. Use this anti-air. Usually I'd advise like running it back to heal on a city when it's this low, rather than just taking a pot shot at a battle capture. But he's got so many tanks running around. He's already like telegraphed that he really wants to kill my anti-air, so I just decided might as well get some value from it when I can. And unfortunately, my 1 HP tank can't kill his 1 HP tank, so this battle capture is dead next turn. So I decided, alright, I'll use it to kill your 4 HP tank then. I start capping his city down here. So one advantage I have right now is since he's gone so hard right here, I managed to like get these couple cities over here, and he still hasn't gotten these two quite yet. So I've had a slight income lead. I guess not really, but you know. And I'm not exactly sure why I decided to move my artillery this way. I guess it's because I saw, man, the artillery can't really wall effectively here because all his tanks are practically dead, as you can see. He's only really got a bomber left. I guess he's got this battlecopter too. So I decided, all right, I already got infantry over here. I'm going to send my artillery here, create a wall, and prevent him from getting back on this island without air support. So it wasn't the most efficient movement. I moved it up here, then down here. When I would rather just go there, then all the way down there. But oh well, that's what I get for being indecisive, I guess. So yeah, he finishes up my answer, like I said. Another nice thing about capping here is if he wants to save a city, he's forced to take an unfavorable trade, an 8 HP into a 10 HP. And also, he's attacking from a shoal onto a city. So, but he's got numbers advantage, so he's storming in with all his infantry. Yeah, so he just starts going ham. He's still on the aggressive. He's like, all right, he even sacks both of his 1 HP tanks just to get 1 HP off my anti-air, which I thought was kind of funny. Then he goes, boom, look at the bomber. Now my anti-air, it'll be at 3 HP next turn, but that's pretty weak. So he went very aggressive. Yeah, he decides to pull this tank back into reinforced range of this bomber, which I think was a good play because he can't really effectively contest these two tanks at full HP, or this one because it's on a city. So then he sends this tank up to reinforce his island, builds infantry and another bomber actually. See this. I'm not a huge fan of this bomber because I already have this fighter, and next turn it's going to fly up here uncontested. I guess I'll have to leave it out of range of that, so I'll put it here or something. But yeah, he's just committing really hard to this base cap still, which he can't really do because I've already got 3 tanks healthy. He's got the bomber's the only real answer he has to them, and I'm going to reinforce with this tank too, and my fighter's flying in. I'll just build another anti-air next turn. So this bomber actually. I think, does it save the messages too? Because I think we talked about this game in the messages. Maybe we talked about it over Discord, but yeah, I remember him saying something about the moment he lost this game. Oh well, I just spoiled it. But he said his biggest mistake was him building this bomber, this second bomber, because the first one got a fair amount of value. Killed an anti-air, killed another one, and then I could just retreat. Already forced me to build this fighter. But this second bomber, not the greatest, in my opinion. So I decide I'm going to take out this anti-air. Then I'm going to attack with my anti-air from the HQ. So now this is going to get healed up. And it's got a bunch of extra defense, so he can't really effectively contest it. And I build another anti-air because he's already gone super heavy into the bombers, and he doesn't have tanks to really take out my tanks. So. And another nice thing is this airport is just perfectly in range, such that it can reinforce the base within 2 turns. At least a fighter can, not a bomber or other air troops, but that works out really well because it's basically preventing him from going tank into my anti-air and then bomber into this anti-air. Having air superiority for 1 more turn. And here I go for an interesting build. I'm at a weird amount of funds. I'm at a, that's, okay, so this is why the replay saves when you build stuff. See, I just knew I was going to put Lance here because he's got a bomber sitting right on top of me. So I guess I would have been at, what, 2,200? I was at 2,200 something? 22,000. Okay, I'm so used to thinking 1 property is 100. I'm just going to get that wrong every time, just so you guys know. Yeah, so what was I saying? So I have an extra 14k here, which is a weird number to be at, because if you build a tank, you got an extra 7k left over. That doesn't feel great. Build a battlecopter infantry, I guess you got 5k left over. But I decided, you know what, let's go recon. So what was my recons? Usually they're pretty terrible outside of fog, because they do diddly squat to most units, right? The only thing they're really good at countering is infantry. But I noticed he's got like a bajillion infantry over here, and I don't even have an artillery to fight them. And another nice thing about the recon is it can reinforce. There's a lot of shoals here and roads. And so basically how the recon works, you guys probably already know this, but it takes 2 moves to go over plains like this tile right here. but it takes one move to go over shoals, cities, and roads. And I'm already planning to send it over here because it's got all the inferior, and it can reinforce to this city in just 2 turns, which a tank can do as well, but significantly cheaper and effectively does the same thing. So yeah, that was my thought process. And then I can build a battlecopter as well. So I'm basically securing better control of this place because he's trying to invade with just infantry right now. I just built a couple vehicles, and I'm saying, all right, you want to attack me here? Go build some proper counters before you do that. So yeah. All right, so he decides, oh man, he's got a fighter in range. He's got so many tanks. All right, I have to pull back, which is why bombers aren't good in generally aren't good in stalling situations. So yeah, this is why this was so bad because he basically was going to be forced to pull back the next turn. Bombers are good when you had a lot of pressure. Like this bomber, tons of value, super worth. But this one, as you'll see, won't do quite as much. So he still decides, all right, I'm going to commit, keep going for this island because I don't want him to take this city from me. Moves all his infantry in, even uses anti-air. Decides to sack his 1 HP copter to get 1 HP damage on my tank. Wow, big brain plays. See, I really don't agree with this because he's sacking a 6 HP tank. I guess it's going to eventually die to Black Storm and be a 4 HP tank, but for a 3 HP anti-air, you're going to get counterattacked by these 2 tanks and like almost certainly die. Yeah, I don't really agree with that tank attack. I think he should have just retreated to the city or something. And he's still going for air, which I already got a fighter down. He's got no answer to my fighter. He's got like this, which is completely out of position. So my fighter's just going to fly up here, completely threaten these guys, and he's going to have to build a fighter of his own if he wants to counter it efficiently. So I go battlecopter into infantry. Then I attack from my tank with the city. Boom. Doesn't matter if you're bond bolt. That is a very favorable trade for me. Then I even move my artillery up to cover from any counterattacks he might want to do, although he doesn't really have any good ones. So now I've got firm control of this island again. And now my main goal is to get these bombers out of my hair. Finish this tank off. Put my anti-air on the HQ. With the extra 40 defense, the bombers can't really do that much to it. Let's just pull up the damage calculator real quick. Alright. Hopefully that's visible enough. Yeah, alright. So as you can see, it's still a pretty high damage trade, but like as you can see, he's going to deal, let's just assume he gets a high roll. He'll deal 7 HP and then I'll deal 2 back. So let's swap. So I'll go down to 3, heal up to 5, then he'll be at 8. And I can attack the next turn as well and deal another 4 back. So it's not a very good trade considering this troop costs nearly 3 times as much as the anti-air. The bomber goes 3 times as much as the anti-air. And I actually decide, all right, you know, you're still going air. I'm building another fighter. You've got no good answer. I just crippled your anti-air. So let's build another fighter and just do double infantry because that's all I can afford this turn. Otherwise, and he's losing on both these fronts right now. He's got good bomber pressure here, but the problem with bombers is you don't really want to build them if there's only tanks to shoot at because sacking a bomber for a tank doesn't feel great. Whereas sacking a bomber for a medium tank or a neo tank, I can understand. So he's forced to pull his bombers way back. Look, my fighter zones them out so hard. He's got a bomber here, which as soon as I move this fighter up, he's going to be forced to run back as well. And he goes double anti-air this turn and still goes battlecopter. I guess the battlecopter isn't the worst because you don't want to sack a fighter for a battlecopter, but you know. Alright, so now it's kind of cooled down. Nobody's really fighting as it's been for the last few turns, which it's good for Hawk, because Hawk's superpower is really good, and the more troops on the field, the easier it is to charge your superpower. So this is what we want. We aren't really forced to pressure here, but we got the city right here, and we can pretty easily take it. So I decide, wait, I'm not the one forced to go aggressive like he's been doing the entire game. And like I said, I just move these fighters up even more. Can't attack me with his anti-airs because they've got insane movement, and I'm still threatening these bombers. So I'm basically saying, all right, yeah, they got to wall off your bombers, or you got to run away again. I still haven't captured this city. It's mildly annoying. And instead of initiating the cap this turn, I decided to heal these guys up first, because then I can still cap it in the same number of turns. Although, maybe this is a mistake, because I'm going to get Blackstorm pretty soon anyways. I probably shouldn't have healed this guy up, but live and learn. Move the Recon onto the city. And, yep, just start placing my tanks aggressively. Yeah, I just opted not to heal this one, because it's going to get healed up by Blackstorm anyways, which I'm getting pretty close to charging again once the fighting breaks back out. Alright, so yeah, he builds a fighter of his own because he realizes, oh wait, I've got nothing to counter all his fighters, and my anti-air can't get into position easily enough, so he's kind of forced to spend all his money just for one anti-air unit. No, well, not all his money, but the vast majority of it. Opts to combine some more infantry. And, yep, see, he's just forced to pull back, and the longer the game stalls out like this, the more it favors me. So I'm happy right now. Like, I don't need to go in. But I decided, screw it, I'm going in anyways. I see an opportunity to take 2 hits on this tank, and he's got no tanks to counterattack from that city, so my anti-air and my fighter can completely wreck any air units he decides to counterattack with. And I've got another tank here, too. Finally, I'm going to get this city. Build another anti-air since he just built a fighter. Because usually you want to avoid fighter versus fighter if you can help it, because it's like a 8-5 trade or something like that. Maybe even like 8-6 against Von Bolt 7-6. So it's better to use anti-air because fighters can't counterattack them. Alright, now I decide I'm going to block off my infantry so he can't sack tanks or anti-air of his own. And I put my recon in front because, you know, who cares? If he kills my recon, he's going to have to commit a tank and an anti-air. Or maybe just a tank. Maybe just a tank. I'm not sure if, you know, let's check for ourselves. Can Von Bolt tanks one-shot Hawk recons? Oh, they can. Alright, if it wasn't Von Bolt, though, if it was Andy, yeah, he can't one-shot recons. But, yeah, Von Bolt busted, like I said. So he's still going to be forced to attack with a tank, and then I got an artillery to counterattack. And he can't really break through this wall. Like, no unit that he has here, except for the bomber, which isn't in range, can one-shot this. And since the infantry's on a city, the anti-air can't even one-shot it. So, yeah, this artillery, I was complaining I wasn't getting much value when it was back here, but now it's actually providing a very valuable service. And it's the only artillery that's been built by either side. And it doesn't even have to shoot to get value. It just sits here and zones people out, as you might have seen in Deegis's video. Alright, so I'm going battlecopter spam now, because I got all the funds, and I go double anti-air. Wow, I went double anti-air? Yeah, I guess I've got so many more tanks, I don't feel the need to build tanks. I might as well just defend with air troops, or with, defend with my anti-air now. Alright, so he decides to sack this for a to interrupt my city cap. So, you know, he's been denying this for the past 18 turns, and he's going to deny it even longer. He decides, even if he takes a counterattack from a battlecopter or fighter of my own, which I thought was kind of surprising. Yeah, see, here's the strength of Von Bolt. From a city, you just absolutely destroy me. Look at that, with an anti-air into a tank. Yeah, anti-air still do fine against tanks if you get the terrain advantage and they're weakened. So they're pretty decent. Yeah, so he starts spamming anti-air too. This is the weirdest part of the game, I felt, because everybody just starts going so many anti-air right now, because there's so many air troops on the map. 2 fighters, 2 bombers, a fighter, battlecopters of his own, so everybody just starts anti-air spamming here. And he opts, alright, screw it. I'm tired of getting zoned out by these fighters. I'm just going to leave my bombers in range, because he hasn't built anything worth sacking them for. So I'm just going to leave them right in range. So I decided, alright, it's a 20k value for a 22k value unit, and I'm going to get a ton of power charge from that. Why not? Boom, boom, they're both dead. He even leaves this in range, which I thought was really interesting. That must have just been a mistake on his end. He should have probably left it here, because it would have done about the same thing. Yeah, I don't know what he's thinking there, because he allows me to kill it with tank plus battlecopter, and now he can't counterattack this. I guess he can do it with this one, but that wants to target fighters this turn. So I use my anti-air to one-shot the infantry. Hey, actually, this was really smart on his end. So he walls this battlecopter here. I was covering my math there for a second. Let me re-say that. He walls this battlecopter here with an infantry. And normally that's no big deal because you can just one-shot it with an anti-air and run in with another anti-air of your own. But since this anti-air is on this square, I can't put this one on this square without first moving this one. So he's basically effectively protecting this battlecopter from 2 anti-airs, which normally wouldn't be possible, but it's all just because this anti-air is sitting right here. This one doesn't have to move to come follow up. So yeah, I thought that was really smart on his end. I opt to do it. Oop, what happened? Refresh this page. Alright, well we had to restart the turn. Alright, what? I sacked the fighters to kill his bombers, kill his anti-air. I already talked about that. Blah, blah, blah. Alright, wait, let's rewind. Okay, so I attack his anti-air with my tank. What the frick? This superpower is just not wanting to work for some reason. Yeah, this isn't right. Okay, let's fix this. Alright, because I popped my superpower and then none of the units take damage. Alright, I don't know. The replay system isn't always 100% functional, but, you know. Alright. One thing I might have done in hindsight, actually, is look, I'm only just a little bit away from getting my Black Storm. What I might have done is just sacked this tank in hindsight into this battlecopter, and then I would have popped Black Storm, because then this tank would do more damage to this than it does, because it would be down 2 HP, like I said, and it has less defense. So in hindsight, that's one improvement I can see on this position. Instead, I only get 5 damage. I probably could have gotten 6. But yeah, okay, now I pop my power. It's finally working. Look at that. We go from oh wow, I was really ahead this turn. Yeah, we go from 14k to 140k. Like, you know, I'm just gonna say, let's just take off the 0 at the end of the numbers, guys. It makes it so much simpler. 14k to 8k. Boom, look at this. Okay, I'm still at 14 something k, just to 6k though. It's such a strong superpower. And just like that, my recon can one-shot infantry now because they're weakened. Another thing to note is you get a plus 10% attack and defense bonus whenever you use powers. So suddenly my units have stats even better than Von Bolt's, all because I just used my super. So I decided, all right, I've got a massive value lead. Let's just start attacking. His one aspect he's doing pretty well on is he's got a bunch of fodder that's low HP. Like, look at all this infantry. He can do some pretty clever blocking strategies with that. But I've got a significant value lead. I just go ham, attack half of his units, and his counterattack is going to be pretty... Oh, and this is where I decide, you know what, look, he's got nothing but anti-air. I just wiped out his bombers. And I'm probably going to have one of these fighters get out of this engagement. Time to go Neo-Tank, because the bombers can't kill it anymore, and it's going to completely, like, nothing on the map he has right now can deal with the Neo-Tank. Maybe this battlecopter, but it'll just slowly chip it. And Neo-Tanks can actually kind of deal with battlecopters. They, like, deal like 3 damage on a first strike, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, he decides, all right, let's keep this going. I've got a lot of strong attacks to do this turn, so he keeps playing. Wow, my his fighter can't even one-shot my battlecopter. Holy cow! Yeah, that's the strength of. So I think this was a mistake, because he could have popped his power first, and then he would have had the plus 10% attack, and he probably could have one-shot this. Although maybe by moving this here, he was manipulating where the missile would land, although I think for sure it would land here anyways, so... Yeah, that's just a small mistake. I mean, it's still a 1 HP battlecopter, but I can use it to block and stuff. So he uses Ex Machina, and like I said, his Ex Machina really haven't gotten a ton of value. Like, sure, it freezes up this fighter, so he doesn't have to worry about it this turn, a tank and this infantry, but that's not much. Compared to dealing, like, 2 damage and healing 2 damage, Von Bolt's power is so inferior, especially in this match, so. But he uses that 10-10 stat boost to really deal a lot of damage. He does another clever walling trick. He takes advantage of the fact that this is stunned. Since I've been reversing the replay, it doesn't show this is stunned, but this tank is stunned. And he attacks it with my battlecopter. Normally I could just move the tank out of the way and counterattack with my battlecopter, but since it's stunned, I can't do that. So he just moves this out of the way to block me, and I'm just like, what the heck? Because my anti-air can't quite one-shot this, whereas in infantry it could, so yeah, pretty smart on his end. So yeah, he just goes ham, does massive counterattack. What happened there? That tank just goes into the nether. What happened to that tank? Oh, it joins into that tank. For some reason, it was disappearing right below this fighter. Were y'all seeing that, or am I just going crazy? Alright, so he gets an okay value super, deals a lot of damage, retakes mid pretty successfully. But look, I've got a Neo tank coming, and sure, he's got this bomber here, but guess what? We already know the answer to bombers, guys. It's just more fighters. Unfortunately, my recon can't kill his tank, and it dies a horrible death. But it served its purpose pretty well, I gotta say. Yeah, see, this was a mistake. Using a fighter to deal 3 HP to another fighter, not very good. I wouldn't have done that in hindsight. I probably would have just retreated it, healed it up with my superpower, and then it can still wreck battlecopters at 3 HP. Whereas just dealing 1 HP to another fighter, not really worth, in my opinion. So I think that was a mistake. So yeah, look, I already know. He's gonna kill this fighter with his anti-air next turn, build another fighter, and then I can just zone it out, and I don't have to worry about that bomber killing my Neo tank. So unfortunately, he does manage to finish off my fighter there. But one advantage to this is, look, it's the turn after I use my Super CO power, so all this damage he's doing to me is giving me power charge. See, I go from 18,000. Yeah, 18,000. I'm actually correct. It's 1,000. After he kills it, all the way up to 32,000. So that's pretty nice. Delaying that, although it allowed him to attack other stuff the last turn, it means I get a huge power charge to my next Black Storm. And as you guys know, Black Storm is very devastating. And he even opts to finish off my anti-air with this bomber, because he sees that he can block it with an infantry of his own. Oh yeah, and here he realizes, oh wait, look, if he kills this infantry, he can kill it. He can counterattack my bomber with his anti-air. So he's like, oh wait, I gotta stop him getting the 2-hit KO. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this anti-air to kill that infantry. Then I'm gonna use this infantry to attack that infantry, and then this tank to attack that infantry from the left. Because this 1 HP infantry, it's not gonna do a significant damage. So he decides, oh snap, I can't let him do that because I don't want him to shoot my bomber. So he just starts sacking all his stuff into this little tank right here. Does a lot of damage to it, but it's still going to heal up. Alright, so he builds a medium tank because he needs something to answer my Neo tank, and he can't afford a Neo tank of his own. But as you'll see, Neo tanks can pretty effectively deal with medium tanks. Alright, so I do the strat like I was talking about. I even sack this 1 HP infantry to ensure that I can take this out. Because otherwise it would be a little bit close, but now I'm pretty sure it's guaranteed I deal 3 HP to this. And then boom, look at that. That's the weakness of bombers. It takes so much damage from anti-air. And now look, this fighter, look, it doesn't have a bomber to deal with, but who cares? I can still completely wreck him if he decides to build more air units. Yeah, so he's still stacking stuff to prevent this one city. This is like completely pointless. Like, sure, I don't have much air units on the map, but that doesn't mean you should sack your anti-air. He's got 4 anti-air, and I only have 1 fighter. That's the only air unit I have. So, yeah, he's behind in all aspects right now, other than, yeah, he's behind on all fronts right now. I guess he's trying to surround this Neo tank. That's his strategy, but it doesn't quite work. And he even does that. Like, what are you doing? He just, yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with these plays here towards the end. Because look, I just wipe out all the stuff he did to deal a little bit of damage. Put this Neo tank on a city. Like, even if he does attack it with my medium tank, It's a super unfavorable trade. And I build a medium tank of my own, too, on the last turn. Yeah, we're starting to get to the part in the match where it's pretty much over, in my opinion. But we'll keep playing it on just to see what happens. So yeah, he pivots back, decides, oh look, he's still got a fighter alive. My fighter's way up here now. He's going to lock my airport. Well, I lock his. So, and he decides, okay, he's got a bunch of heavy tanks. Can't build tanks of my own to deal with that. Starts with the artillery, and now it's becoming an artillery standoff. But I find out, look, he's got one medium tank, which, yeah, sure, it can deal good damage to this medium tank, but I've got a neo tank and another medium tank here to back it up. So I decided, all right, I'm just going to take all these free hands on infantry. And I'm even going to bring my anti-air down just to stop him from blocking my airport anymore. And I got this artillery still perfectly defending here. It's been sitting here and, like, it hasn't shot at all this entire game, but it's gotten so much value just completely screwing him from going this way. So I haven't had to bring any units this way. I've been throwing them all in the mid or up here towards his airport. So yeah, this artillery, although it didn't really shine early on, it's been the MVP of the match. And I build another recon just because I'm like, all right, you need to resign, bro. Yeah, the recon probably wasn't the best build, but I could afford it in a neo tank. Oh no, what did I do? Stop it. There we go. Yeah, so let's just get this over with, because he's so far behind in units that he's kind of forced to play defensively, and you can't really do that as Von Bolt versus Hawk. So I decide, oh look, I just scared him half to death by putting a neo tank, a medium tank, and another medium tank here. Look, I can just run my neo tanks up here, and look, now suddenly this island is super threatened. He's got one artillery, a medium tank, and 2 anti-air. Like, good luck beating this whole army with that. Like, if you do build a bomber, I've got 2 anti-airs and a fighter to deal with it. So yeah, he's pretty screwed. Has to move his anti-air back too. And he decides, okay, he's going up here. Time to counterattack. Moves in his artillery and moves in his tanks. So this is going to be his death bush. He's going to take my airport, and that's how he's going to win this match here. And oh yeah, here, I do remember this. He forgot to move the guys in the north. So let's just go through the replay real quick. Look, he moves all these guys, but he just completely forgets to move these guys. I think leaving these guys here isn't the worst, but this medium tank is the real problem, because then I can attack with my neo tank. But I've got such a significant lead. Even if he did move this back and I didn't get the first strike, I could still move in this exact same formation I do here anyways, because I've got so much backup that he can't really afford to first strike me. Oh yeah, and here, this is what I consider a value bomber right here. I see, oh look, I can wipe out his fighter with my own fighter, and he's got an anti-air to counterattack, right? But he's only got 1, and this is right in reinforcement range of my whatchamacallit, my airport. So he can't one-shot this, so it'll come out alive, and then I'm guaranteed to get an effective counterattack, because these anti-air are way out of position. And he can't reinforce from one turn from this base with another anti-air. So that's a little tactic I found that I figured I might as well mention. And here's a cool end of the line tactic he does. So he decides to sack his anti-air, because look, I've got no air units. Why would he have anti-air up here? He sacks both his anti-air into my neo tank. Boom, boom. Now he's got a superpower, and look at how much these units are clumped up right here. Boom. Now that's what I call a value superpower. But the problem is, look, he's got no units up here. I mean, if he had his medium tank still alive, he probably wouldn't have enough power to activate the Ex Machina. So, but I've just got so many units that even despite that, he can't really do much. This artillery does move into position to get a good shot at my neo tank, though. So, and he even finds out, oh frick, he's got a bomber. I can't afford to push anymore. I'm gonna lose my whole neo tank. So he's forced to go defensive again. I pop my super, and just look at that. Since he can't finish these units off, yeah, it popped up. It's going to pop up twice. Yeah, I'm kind of spamming through the replay, but there's a lot of moves here at the end. But since he can't finish all these guys off, I just pop my super CO power, and look, it's like nothing happened to these guys. It just means they can't move one turn. Like, who cares? And boom. Do the strat like I talked about. Even start moving my neo tank mid, because I'm like, all right, you're not attacking my island anymore. I'm putting my neo tank here. And even if you take the first strike, I'm on a city. Good luck with that. Oh yeah, and the nail in the coffin right here. is I see. Let's go back one turn. Ah, frick. Sorry. The real nail in the coffin is I decided to go stealth this turn. And why do I go stealth? Stealths just get hard countered by fighters, and as you've seen, fighters are extremely good on this map. But as you'll see, he's got a bunch of good targets for it. He's got a Neo tank, 2 medium tanks, and he's only got an anti here. He hasn't built a fighter. And also, look, since I just popped my super, he's got a ton of units on properties that are going to heal up. He's got a Neo tank, an anti-air, a tank, a battlecopter, and artillery. So you take the values of those units and you times it by what the repair costs, and you find out that 2,500 gold, he's going to get drained, so he can't afford a fighter next turn. So like he's only got 1,400. He decides to take some attacks just because why not? Then he resigns because it's pretty helpless. And yeah, I don't know. Well, what can I say about this match? Yes, see, there's no point in fighting on at this point. This Neo tank is going to wreck that medium tank. And, like, sure, he's got an artillery that can counterattack, but I've just got a swarm of units. This bomber can fly up here and kill that medium tank, which you didn't see. Yeah, he's just, and the stealth is going to fly up here, go hidden next mode. The anti-air won't be able to shoot it, and then it's going to completely zone out this whole portion of the map. So he's going to be forced to run all these guys over here. Then there's no way he's capturing my islands back. And I already have an income lead, a value lead. Yeah, and arguably a unit composition lead too, because I've got Neo tanks, whereas he's only got 1, and I've got a healthy bomber that's completely unthreatened right now. So yeah, he's forced to, like, is he going to use his fighter to counter my bomber, or is he going to use to counter my stealth? Yeah, he's in a hopeless position. I think he was arguably in a lost position once he gets to like turn. Yeah, like turn 16. The fact that he doesn't have a good way to keep pushing here, I think that was the real death sentence once he built that bomber. But yeah, it was a fun match. And I think Starflash could have played it better. I could have played it better too. And yeah, I haven't really closed off a video for it, so what else should I even say? Yeah, I've played Starflash a lot of times. This is one of the only 2 victories I've gotten on him. The other time I beat him was in it was on the same map, but it was tier 4, so it was a Jake mirror. But every other match I played against him, I think I played him like 5 more times. He's beaten me, so he's a talented player. He's just, I think he was still learning a bit. I think the high funding threw him off a little bit in this match. He just kind of, I don't know. The bomber was the right play, but I think he just started sacking all his tanks too early. I don't even know. I mean, he had a really good push at one point on like turn 10-ish, but once that push halted, it was all me from there. Yeah. And look, this black boat up here survives. 13 fuel left. So yeah, I guess that's it. It's been nice to commentate for this for you guys. Hopefully it's not too long, although I think I was talking for quite a bit, even though I spammed through some of those turns. But yeah, if you liked, feel free to give it a like and subscribe. I'll hopefully upload something some other time, but yeah, we'll see. Take it easy, y'all.